I'm a Dale Levine, intuitive and a medium. And we're going to talk about today how to know that you're getting signs from the spirit world. So let's get into it. Don't forget to subscribe and like and leave comments so I know that you are enjoying this, and you can listen to this on a podcast as well, for those who just want to listen and not, watch the video. So today we're going to talk about how to get signs, or know that you're getting signs, I should say, from the spirit world. So there are a few categories I'm going to cover real quick and real simple, because I want to keep it as simple as possible and I don't want to complicate it. That's the point of this channel and doing these posts. So the first is the electronic division. Do spirits like to mess with your electronics and even sometimes break your electronics? Yes and no. So for instance, the spirit world who is connected to you, loved ones, those who care about you and love you, yes, definitely use electronics, mess with your cell phone, mess with your iPad and your computer, sometimes even type things in that are not what you're typing, and you're like, this isn't really even autocorrect as well. It doesn't make sense, but it makes sense to you for someone who has passed, if that makes sense. And then there's, I've covered in other posts, naughty little boys and girls who kind of blow out your electronics because their energy is just. And here's the thing. Why do they want to use electronics? Is because they're pure energy. They're all energy. So they use electronics as a way to get your attention because it's very easy for them. All they have to do is kind of push their energy towards the electronics, and they can easily manipulate it. So it's not as mysterious as people think. It's not like, oh, they just kind of want to freak you out, or, although sometimes that happens. But it's because it's very easy for them, and it's an easier manipulation than moving objects and things like this. Although, of course, we've heard of this happening, and it does happen. It's more common, and especially for those who care about you and want to get your attention, to, flicker your lights, turn your lights off, and then turn your lights on, to, have your phone start ringing and nobody's there, or mess with, like your shuffle music on Spotify and Pandora box and things like that, where you're listening to one song and it jumps to another song. Since people don't really do radio so much, but they can do that as well, like switch channels and things like that. And it's just an easy attention grabber, okay? And that brings me to why they give signs. They give signs to get your attention. It is not always what people think, like, oh my gosh, they must be having a hard time, or there's some pressing thing they're trying to get, my attention to. They're really just trying to remind you, hey, I'm here. I didn't go anywhere. I'm existing in a realm, and, pay attention. So it's signals. So look at signs as signals. It is a signal to you to talk in a way that isn't interrupting your life too much, and you'll, get the hang of it. Why is signs used and signals used instead of like, oh, they're just going to appear and you can see them and it's just like, hey, so-and-so, I'm here, and let's sit down and have a cup of coffee and talk about things? The reason is because you guys kind of freak out. So even when spirits have, made themselves known and have appeared in front of you, or even if they like touch you or something, it can be very alarming for people. So since we're not in the time of Star Wars where Yoda appears and Obi-Wan appears and they just kind of say, I'm here to help you in your life and I'm existing in this world along with you, we're not there yet. So since we're not there yet, this is a way to get your attention. Now let's move on to nature, and I'll circle back to some of these other things. And those for you listening on a podcast, This may be short one, and I will be doing some extra podcasts for the podcasters, meaning extra content for just podcasts. Whereas YouTube, it's a little more of elements going on, and I like to kind of keep the subjects short because people don't have a lot of time to just sit and watch like a 30-minute video. Whereas a podcast, you can just flick it on, like if you're like me, and you can listen to it on a commute or something like that. So if you want extra context, go to my podcast, which is right now on Podbean under the Narrow Room with Adela Levine. Okay, so let's move to the next thing. I'm just trying to get these things in between what we're doing. So let's get to animals. Okay, so animals, people tend to kind of go, why they tend to think someone's turning into a butterfly, turning into a bird, and such. Let me go over the ones that people tend to see: butterflies, dragonflies, birds of all types, small birds to eagles and hawks. And, let's see, did I miss any? Probably, but these are the common ones people tend to see a lot. And so what happens with that, again, is all about signal. It's all about frequency. It's all about energy. So again, the spirit is not turning into a butterfly or turning into a bird. What happens is that loved one of yours is sometimes sending a signal to you. Sorry, excuse me. A little bit sore, a little bit sore throat. A signal to you, kind of giving you, how do I say, telepathic message of them. So basically pushing their thoughts and their feelings into your head, if that makes sense. So it's telepathic. It may not even be a specific thought or feeling. It could just be a signal of them. Boom, boom, boom. Like, this is your grandmother, this is your grandmother. And all of a sudden you're really, really thinking and feeling, oh my gosh, I'm thinking a lot about this person right now. And then as they get your attention in this kind of way, they can telepathically speak to the other beings on this earth. Yes, telepathically speak to other beings on this earth, because that is how that realm exists. We tend to exist very separate from each other. We don't tend to connect to each other in that kind of way. But because they're pure energy and they're pure frequency, and so is a butterfly, and so is a bird, and animals and dogs and cats actually see those frequencies quite well. They kind of say, hey, listen, I'm trying to get my daughter's attention. Could you fly by right now? And they send that signal out, and the little being cooperates. So that's how that works. It's not them turning into something. People kind of mystify it a little more than I think is necessary, and it's really just kind of using the network of communication. Okay, so let's move on to another one that people ask, which is like dimes and pennies and things like this that are left. Can people do that? Yes, they can. It's a little more difficult, but it isn't necessarily like they're making them appear, but they're kind of getting your attention. Now, sometimes it is true that there are things that appear in really odd places, and yes, that is capable. Can they manifest something physical from the spirit realm and turn it something physical? Absolutely. It's not as common. It's done a little less frequent because it is hard for them to do. And you just got to think of it like this. In that realm, kind of look at it like the Matrix. They're kind of learning how to operate this new realm of theirs, and realize that the laws of this realm, of the earthly realm that they were in, aren't really existing like it used to. Okay, so I've had some really interesting things like that happen to me, and I'm sure you have many stories, and I'd love to hear them if you would like to email me or send comments, because I think the more people can see other people's experiences, it helps for us to not feel like, are we just alone in it? It is still a a fringe topic, believe it or not. As much as when I started reading professionally about 15 years ago, people were like, it was very, it wasn't talked about very much. And people still thought it was kind of strange. Now, today, people are much more open, but it's still fringy. It's still kind of on the fringe, type of thing where people don't always share what they're really experiencing because people are afraid to. So if you comment and say things, and we're meaning I'm trying to create a community here, and I know at least I am very practical minded, that I'm going to get to that is my next subject of when you get signs, don't read too much into it. What I mean by that, wait, let me rewind that. What I mean is don't read into everything. So when you get a sign, you really know it's a sign because you can feel, okay, this is strange. I was like driving down the street, I was thinking of the person who I miss, and all of a sudden the song flipped to my favorite song about them. I just can't ignore it, right? Or I'm sitting outside thinking so hard of them, and a crow comes right up to me and starts walking around. You can feel it, right? Versus to when you're looking for things constantly, meaning like you're trying to force it to happen. So there's the difference between trying to force something to happen and when you allow it to just happen. Now, a lot of times in the spirit world, it works better if you say, hey, I miss you. And signs and signals are confirmations. They're like, even if you feel them around and you love them and you're like, I know that I sense they're around, you still want that confirmation. You want that physical confirmation. So that's what they're really about. It's to kind of go, I know I feel you and love you, but just having these really cool earthly confirmation and signals just helps me through the day and helps me to know that I'm definitely sensing you and feeling you. So this is what I'd like you to do. 2 exercises. One, when you want a sign or signal from that realm, you throw it out and say, listen, I'm having a hard time. I know I can feel you. I know you're here, but you got to throw me a bone, and you got to give me a confirmation. Just leave it open. If you do the like, okay, if you're here, show me that you're here, right now. And let's say the light does flick off and on. You're going to question, did it really flick a lot? You're going to question it. Even if you know that was weird, you're still going to question it because you're conscious. And this is the hardest part with getting used to dealing with that realm is, did in my mind is convincing me of something, or did something really unique happen? So what I would say is you throw it out there and you say, listen, when you want to give me a sign, and when something happens that you can clearly go, okay, this is them, it works much better. The other thing is dreams, and I'm going to do a whole video on dreams because it's really, really important. Just so you know, when you're having dreams of people who have passed, you are going there to visit them. They are not putting, like a movie reel in your head of them and coming into your head. Your energy is going there, and that's why a lot of times when you have dreams, which I'm sure some of you have had this happen, you kind of sit up immediately, right after the dream ends, and you're like, like you're back. It's just that feeling of something happened, something, you went somewhere or something like that. With dreams, if you want to have more dreams, the reason why people block dreams, pain is one way, because remember, seeing and feeling, that realm has to come from the heart, has to come from feeling, it has to come from releasing and facing all those things. The more you feel, this is where most of it, because telepathic talking is mostly feeling and sensing, and it comes through that frequency. So pain and grief is hard, sometimes blocks. And the reason why dreams happen a lot right after someone passes is because you're very, very kind of still in shock. You're not completely have blocked yourself off, and you're just more open to it, in the sense of like, you're not trying, you're not doing anything, you're just really focused on the person. So that brings me to what's important about all these things, all these signs, is most of the time they're happening all the time, but we're very much caught up in life, and we're very much caught up in our world, and we just don't see it and sense it and recognize it. And so the more you recognize it, and like I said, you don't force it, you don't try to make it happen, the quicker these things come. With dreams, every night before you go to sleep, um, I say for 7 nights, because it's just it's easy to remember. If I start Monday, I end Monday. You ask for whoever you want to talk to come talk to you that night in a dream. Only that person. Put your protection energy around. Ask for the protective energy of whoever it is you work with. I work with Saint Michael and Azrael and different things like that. You ask for if it's God, and if it's Buddha or whoever it is you connect to, and energy you connect to, for security and protection and gold light around you. And you say, okay, but I only want this person, and try that. And what it does is opens your heart, and it starts to connect you to that energy, and you're pulling yourself towards, and you're plugging into each other. So those are your 2 assignments for the week. I hope you enjoyed this. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to post. I might go down to 1 post a week. I just wanted to put a bunch of content up. I'm going to play it by ear. We'll see. It might be every Monday, just to give you guys something for the week. Like I said, I'm going to play it by ear. But I wanted to get enough content up to kind of get going. And also with the podcast, if you're listening on a podcast, I'm going to do an extra content for just the podcast, because I can go a little bit longer into different subject matters. But I will always cover the similar things on this YouTube for you, so don't worry. It's not like I'm doing I won't be covering things on YouTube. It just may be shorter and things like that. So subscribe, like, share. Let me know what you think. It really, on my podcast, follow. I see people are downloading, but following helps me to know, is like, do you guys like this? Is it helping? Mostly, is it helping? Because this is the only reason why I do this. You can catch me on Dale Levine on all social media, and at DaleLevine.com. Next week, I'm going to do a thing on seances and are they real, because I'm going to be doing a seance April 7th. And so I want to explain, it's not, as you guys, if you're watching me at all, or if you watch my videos, nothing I do is going to be cheesy. This is not like what you've seen in the movies and TV. This is going to be a lot different, and I'm going to explain it, so look forward to that. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Follow yourself, follow your intuition, be skeptics, and question everything always. See you soon.